Hey there folks, and welcome back to the Gamer's Grotto. Tonight we're going to be playing the Atari 50th Anniversary Celebration. This is basically I don't even want to call it a game. It's the history of Atari starting back from the 1960s and 70s all the way up into modern times and their influence on the video game industry. Now, on top of all the history, we will find actual games to play in here as well. There's a massive games library of games spanning the Atari's massive universe of games. Now, I never really grew up with the Atari. I had friends who had one. There was a few games I played on it, like Tapper and things like that, but I never really had an Atari. My very first console was an N64. My very first handheld console was the original Game Boy. So I never really grew up with the Atari. At the time when Atari came out, or was more popular at any rate, I had a Tandy 1000 SX computer. So I was playing games like King's Quest, Space Quest, Police Quest, all that kind of stuff. Well, my friends were playing like Tapper and you know the Atari Star Wars game and stuff like that. So anyway, we're gonna hop right into this right now. Let's play the Atari 50th Anniversary Celebration on the PlayStation 5. Alright, so we're going to go start out from the very beginning. Now, as you can see, I've already 100%ed all of these because I've been doing a little bit of exploring of this entire thing myself. And there's a lot of videos on here. There's a lot of reading and stuff like that. Now, naturally, I will do all the reading for you guys. But there is a lot of content here. So we're going to start from the beginning at the arcade origins. From its earliest days, Atari experimented with a variety of different takes on innovative leisure. Arcade games, music, visualization, even holograms. In the beginning, in a world where pinball was king, two engineers dreamed that coin-operated games played on computers could become the next big thing. A company called Syzygy was where it all started. The first arcade game, Computer Space, was designed by Atari co-founders Ted Dabney and Nolan Bushnell and manufactured by Nutting Associates. It was based on the 1962 computer game Space War. There's a photo of the cabinet. And we've got a video here. Finding the first computer space. In the year 2000, former Atari employee Jerry Jessup saw a newspaper ad for a computer space machine in a Quonset hut on a sunflower seed farm in California. He found the first computer space machine ever manufactured. So we're going to watch that video right now.
Some reason I'm looking through the San Jose Mercury in the just random stuff section for sale, and I see world's first video game Computer Space. No price, just call. I'm like, wow, I'm pretty interested in this. So I called the guy. I said, so you got a Computer Space? Yeah. He goes, yeah. First game ever. Okay, great. What color is it? And he goes, well, what color do you want? I'm like, wow, this is getting very interesting, because who has a whole bunch of computer spaces, and who would know that they came in all these different colors? He goes, I got a yellow, a solid blue, metal flake blue, and metal flake red. And he goes, a whole bunch of other games too. Okay, great. Want to come up and see them. These were in a Quonset hut on a sunflower seed farm off of Highway 80 in Dixon, California, halfway between, the Bay Area and Sacramento. And these things hadn't been moved in, probably since 1975. And so I got in touch with Nolan and showed him the pictures and scratched his head, and then like a light bulb went off in his head. He goes, these were Ted Dabney's. These were Ted Dabney's units. This was his route. When he left, he took a route that we had, and he goes, this yellow one's the first one. He goes, I know it. That yellow one is the very first one. I kept the first one, which is a beautiful yellow computer space, and I kept Pong number 46, and we got the rest of them running and working as good as we could. We got it all for $5,000. I don't regret the purchase one bit. Not for a minute.
Alrighty. Al Alcorn's business card. Dabney and Bushnell named their company Syzygy Engineering after a term for the direct alignment of Sun, the Moon, and Earth during an eclipse. Alan Alcorn, who had worked with Dabney and Bushnell at their previous workplace, was the first engineering hire at Syzygy. This was his business card during those early days. To show a close-up of that. Atari Inc. On June 27, 1972, Dabney and Bushnell incorporated their company in the state of California. But the name Syzygy was already taken. Instead, they chose Atari, a term from the Japanese game of Go. The company briefly continued doing business under the name Syzygy, however. Now we got another video here. Syzygy 1973. And rare footage from a 1973 documentary titled Games Computers Play, we hear from a young Nolan Bushnell inside the Syzygy offices.
Well, I'd say 30 years to pretty much the present. The arcades have been relegated to the back rooms and the side streets, and generally been an unsavory type of place. What we want to do is bring the amusement game to age. If we can give it a new zip and a pizzazz, it's going to be financially successful, as well as, I think, a very serious part in the leisure time activity of the American people.
The marriage of traditional pinball machines and computer technology has resulted in the birth of a new breed of amusement games. And Nolan Bushnell is the man handing out the cigars. Bushnell has developed two such games, Computer Space and Pong, and believes that they and others like them will move the pinball industry out of America's bus stations and bowling alleys and into the space age. In 1971, Bushnell invented Computer Space, but sold production rights to Nutting Associates of Mountain View, California, for royalties based on the number of games sold. It proved a good deal for both parties. Sales already exceed 1,500 machines. Computer Space, like Pong, sells for around $1,000 and is played on the screen of a standard television set, which has been programmed to display the desired game. In Computer Space, the player controls a rocket ship, which is trying to shoot down enemy flying saucers while avoiding their missiles. If the player scores more hits than the enemy saucers, he gets one free play. By the time Bushnell invented Pong in 1972, he was able to form his own company, Syzygy Corporation in Santa Clara, California, to produce the game. He has already sold over 1,000 machines and expects to sell 10,000 in the United States by the end of the year. Pong, as the name might indicate, is a game of video ping pong. The two players turn dials which control their electronic paddles and volley with an equally electronic ball. The first player to score 15 points wins. While Bushnell did design and program both his games, the technology he uses dates back to the late 1950s. Thanks to research by the Defense Department in the wake of Sputnik, Bushnell is now able to act out his dream of a nation inhabited by thousands of Pong and computer space games.
The government spent millions of dollars on this technology, and as a result, now it's cheap enough that we can put it into a game and sell it for 25 cents for a few minutes and make $1 out of it. It's something that the research and development really was done many years ago, and now it's cheap enough that with PC boards and integrated circuits, we can use that technology to our advantage.
The basic electronic unit of Bushnell's games is the integrated circuit. Each of these small chips is capable of storing large amounts of information. The program for a game is determined by specific combinations of these units to form a PC, or printed circuit board. The printed circuit board then tells the TV screen what to do. A single printed circuit board is all that is required to operate Pong, whereas 15 years ago it would have taken enough tubes and wiring to fill an average house. Bushnell first saw the commercial potential of video games in a game called Space War, which has been played at computer centers around the country for several years.
We used to play Space War a lot at the AI project at Stanford, which is a big computer complex. And one day it just hit, this is a lot of fun, to be able to package it and sell it for a price. And, one thing leads to another, and pretty soon, from doodling on a scratch pad, you're actually working out some basic block diagrams, and from there you think, boy, it's going to work.
Very cool. All right, so moving on here. Notable and quotable. The genius of Atari was to create a fully formed commercial game that was designed for the masses and accessible to the masses. Eugene Jarvis, creator of Defender. Notable and quotable. More than just a game company, it kickstarted Silicon Valley. A lot of what we think of in Sunnyvale is a result of Atari. I think that ethos of creativity and openness that wasn't common back in the 70s and the 80s, and yet Atari pioneered that. Wade Rosen, current CEO of Atari. Pong. While Pong was not the first arcade game, it was the first successful one, selling thousands more units than Computer Space and bringing in many more quarters. It's no exaggeration to say, this simple tennis game launched an entire industry. Al Alcorn, the creator of Pong, discusses the design process of this iconic game and how its signature sound effects came from a lack of resources. So we're going to watch this video right now.
You know what the Atari motto is? Innovative leisure, right? Well, it didn't say innovative arcade games. It didn't say innovative video games. It said innovative leisure. It was broad from day one. I mean, Nolan always had a consumer game in his mind because that's what he hired me to do. And I wound up doing the wrong thing and making a hit coin-op game, right? When I was at Ampex, I learned how to make sync generators, synchronizing, the basic fundamental circuit necessary to get a TV signal, because we had to generate an analog signal. So you do that and you get the ball at one speed and you put paddles up, and it's a very, very boring game. And so I added the speed up and I added the angles off of that, just, to make it playable, interesting. And so it started getting a little interesting. That's cute. And Nolan said, well, it's got to have score. We had a pretty good game, and hey, great. So what are you going to do for sound? I go, sound? I'm already over budget. What am I going to do? Nolan said, well, I want the sound of a roar of a crowd of thousands applauding your win. And Ted said, I want boos and hisses. And I'm thinking, how do I do that? Listen, I got video. I got the goddamn game up. Now you wanted me to do this. I'll be right back. So pissed around for a day and poked around sounds that already existed in the vertical sync generator and gated them out with the 555 timer. I love it. Years later, the sound is so well thought out, so appropriate. It was like, are you kidding me? It was just, you know, just thrown together in spite of what the boss said. And so that was how Pong came to be.
Alrighty, moving right along here. Promotional flyers. Pong's original flyer still included the name Syzygy Engineering, but later materials accentuated the Atari name and Fuji logo. We can zoom in on this a little bit. Pong doubles. With other companies quickly looking to capitalize on Pong's success with clone machines, Atari looked to improve upon the experience. Pong doubles let 4 players get in on the fun. In this promotional photo are Joe Keenan, 3rd from left, Nolan Bushnell, 5th from left, and Al Alcorn, right. Puppy Pong. Since most coin-operated games were installed in bars and thus inaccessible to children, Atari developed Puppy Pong, a device meant to be installed in the waiting rooms of pediatric offices. The idea did not catch on, and Puppy Pong only had a small production run. Alright, so we're going to go into Pong. This is a simulation of the actual game. So they have, like as I said before, they have all of the games that they talk about. All of the Atari games from the, I believe it's the 60s all the way up into the 2000s are accessible to play within this collection. So we're going to hop into Pong. We're going to try that out. We'll probably do a section each day, or however, whenever we do the next stream of this, because I think there's like 5 different chapters to this experience. So we'll do one a day. I think this is going to last us about 2 hours as it is. Anyway, we're going to hop right into this right now. Let's play some Pong. Okay, well, as you can tell, I'm not very good at Pong. But yeah, so there we go. There's Pong. Now, as you can see on the options menu here, we can actually save our games. This is true for every Atari game in this collection. You can save your game. You can change the different filters. We can, you know, adjust various things. We can turn off the borders. There's a lot of cool customization options in here. We can even view the original flyer that came with Pong way back in the day. So we have access to a lot of cool shit here. But we're not just here to play games, we're here to learn, at least tonight. So let's continue on with more of the Atari collection. The legend of the broken Pong machine. One of the often told stories of the origin of the game industry is the tale of Al Alcorn being called by the manager of Andy Capp's the Sunnyvale bar where the first Pong prototype was on display to fix the broken machine. Alcorn and many other gaming industry legends recount the tale in this video feature. Alright, so let's go into this right now and watch this video.
So everybody's heard the Pong story. Probably everybody's heard the Pong story, but I've heard it many times, and from Al Alcorn himself, who designed Pong. So,
the story I've heard is that they installed one of the first Pong machines in a tavern and let people play it as a test.
Put it out into an arcade and see if it makes money. I mean, that's the market research.
My understanding was Ted built a cabinet, a tabletop, simple cabinet over the weekend. And a coin mech bolted to the side of the cabinet, tabletop type of big thing was sit on a barrel.
Placing a interactive video machine somewhere and having people play it was still a relatively new concept. Nobody knew if it was going to go.
Oh, what is the name of the bar in Palo Alto?
San Jose?
No, it was Andy Capp's.
It was Santa Clara?
Sunnyvale.
So we'll put it in Andy Capp's. You know, it's a coin-op game, be it fragile and humble. And so we did.
Well, my memory is that he gets a phone call, the game's busted, which of course is the usual thing you get on a support line. It doesn't work. What is it, and in what way does it not work? Well, it doesn't work.
The bar owner or manager at the time kind of yelled at them and like accused them of their game being shoddy because it had already broken down and it was no longer functioning or working.
And they get a call, you know, later on that night and like, hey, this thing broke, you know. come and pick up this piece of shit game and get it out of here. You know, this thing broke. You know, I'm not going to waste my time fixing this crap.
But anyway, the machine, we got the word that it stopped working, and I figured it could be anything, and I'd go out there and take a look at it. And so I went to the machine, and the first thing you do is you want to try to play the game, because the machine was on in a tracked mode, so it was working, but you couldn't start a game. So you open up the coin box to basically flip the micro switch to give yourself a free game, because I'm not going to waste a quarter, you know.
And so they went down to see what's wrong with the machine to fix it, and what they found out was that it wasn't broken. It was just that so many people had played it, they'd filled the coin box with quarters, and it was jammed, and it couldn't take any more.
So many people had played it that it couldn't accept any more money.
The game is broken because it's stuffed so full of quarters.
Completely stuffed with quarters.
And it was a small, I remember it was kind of small, if I remember. It was a small space. It just filled up with the quarters, and it wouldn't take it.
When I opened up the coin mech, you know, all these quarters just gushed out. So, whoa, that's impressive.
It's the equivalent of like crashing a server when you launch a new website and it's so popular. So they crashed the server on Pong.
And one of the other reasons it was also so popular is because you could play it with one hand while you're still holding a pint in your other hand. And that also was one of those things that, you know, eventually many, many years later led to the rise of the fun barcades that we have, you know, and we can enjoy now.
as Al will always say with a little, you know, twinkle in his eye, he goes, "This is a problem I can fix."
Basically, the way it worked was you take the money, the deal you have, and you split the take with the owner of the bar. And so I did that, and I had this sack of quarters, and the next day I come into work and I said, I got the machine fixed, and here's the problem. Goddamn thing's making too much money. And really?
But it was one of those great moments where something that supposedly was failing was actually such a huge success that no one could recognize. It was truly the ugly duckling version of technology.
Because remember, Nolan thought, he was like, this is just the placeholder until we get to design the really good game, because who's going to play this stupid shit?
Hi, Gigi.
They went on to
this is
produce all
different.
these classic, memorable arcade titles for years that allowed the company to survive and be so much more than a one-hit wonder. So that's my understanding of the history of it.
Hey, Lester, how are you doing? This is the Atari 50th anniversary collection.
When the story is good, you know,
a bunch of videos and games that we'll be able to play covering Atari's history.
To me, you know?
So we get to hear stories from the actual developers of Atari's massive game history.
It's kind of a cool feeling.
Learn all about the history of Atari, as well as play all the games they talk about. Alright, so moving on here. Space Race. For Atari's second game, it went back to the space genre. Space Race challenged two players to get their spaceship to the top of the screen. The top of the screen
I
first.
see what this is now. Cool.
While dodging an asteroid field, although space games would eventually be some of the top earners at the arcade, Space Race was not a success.
Like an interactive documentary. Very cool.
Oh yeah, no, it is, and a very interactive documentary, as a matter of fact.
Interrupting.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Please interrupt. I don't mind. I know that we all kind of have a history, especially with watching this. A lot of these games on Stu's channel. The cool thing about this collection, though, is that they remade a bunch of the Atari games. So not only do you get to play the originals, which are all in this collection, but they remade certain Atari games for this collection. So these are Atari games which you're not going to play anywhere else. You're not going to find anywhere else because they're included exclusively in this collection. They've even included Atari games that were never put into development as well, that you can try out. Gotcha. Atari's fourth game was a simple maze game in which one player attempted to catch the other. What made Gotcha controversial were the pink domes covering the joysticks, which were meant to resemble breasts. The game's risque flyer extended the metaphor. Ultimately, the domes were removed from the machines because of cost concerns. I say it's risque. Jesus. Leisure Suit Larry before Leisure Suit Larry. Touch Me. An Atari coin-operated machine called Touch Me.
Great concept. And that Gotcha game really exists? Haha.
I'm assuming it would have, yeah, but they would have modified it a bit for the time period, for the time it came out. An Atari coin-operated machine called Touch Me was not a video game, but an electronic device that challenged a player to repeat an ever-lengthening pattern of button presses. Ralph Baer, the inventor of home gaming consoles, saw a Touch Me machine and was inspired to improve on it to create the iconic handheld game, Simon. Now, Ralph Baer, I got to see some of his... so he was involved... he was a guest of honor at Video Games Live one year. This would have been before he died, obviously, but... and it was really cool because he got to see firsthand how his invention of home gaming consoles, how it became so widespread that it is today. Like he got to see firsthand before he died the success of what he had created firsthand, because when he went to the Video Games Live and he was there for their performance, he got a standing ovation from like millions of people in the audience, first of all, and they asked him, like, what does it feel
When
like?
did this start, GG?
When did this stream start? I want to say like about a half an hour ago. So you missed a little bit of it, Stu.
Minutes.
Oh, well, 33 minutes. Well, half an hour, roughly. We watched a couple of videos, and we're just making our way through it slowly. We've already played one of the games, Classic Pong, which I will admit I was...
get a notification. I look for it now.
That's YouTube for you, I'm telling you. YouTube doesn't give you notifications anymore. They're stupid. Anyway, yeah, so we did Pong. That was our first game we played on here, and I will admit...
Is Aster going to touch you?
Yes, Stu. Yeah. You're going to get my channel demoted and banned and shot into space. All right. So we'll look at some of these images here.
LOL no.
Alrighty, moving on. Key games. While Atari was quite successful in 1973, it felt it was being held back by the fact that coin-operated machine distributors wanted exclusive agreements. So it created a competitor called Key Games, a separate company headed up by Joe Keegan that would sell similar machines to other distributors.
Is Touch Me the one that had the breast controllers?
No, that was, well, they did mention that. Hang on, let me finish this and then we'll go back. Key's game Elimination was released by Atari as Quadra Pong, for example. So the one you're talking about was Gotcha. And it mentions here that, yes, the joysticks were meant to resemble breasts and ultimately were removed because of cost concerns. I don't know if I believe in the cost concerns thing. I feel like it was removed because people probably bitched. Tank. This military combat game was the only one title produced by Key Games that was not a clone of an Atari product. Shortly after its release, Atari formally acquired Key, bringing an end to the fiction that they were competitive rivals. However, the Key Games division continued operation under its own name until 1978.
Over 100 games with local multiplayer mode. For a peek, I have played Tank in the arcade.
I believe we also played it on your channel, Stu, if I remember correctly. I know that I played a Tank game with you, and I feel like it was this one. Now, now, keep in mind, Lester, like as I said before, there are exclusive remakes of classic Atari games within this collection that are not able to be seen anywhere else. You can't buy these games anywhere else separately. They are remade for this collection. And I believe Quadra Tank is one of them. Yes, there we go. This is the one that was remade for this collection. Quadra Tank, the first new entry in the Tank series since 1978. Quadra Tank is a 4-player twist on the classic Tank combat gameplay, developed in 2022 by Digital Eclipse. It combines features from all the Tank games, even letting you play on ice.
Yeah, they finished the Sword Quest series.
So we're going to hop into this reimagining. To celebrate Atari's 50th anniversary, Digital Eclipse has returned to the origins of combat with this 4-player reimagining of Tank. Players, as individuals or teams, have a choice of weapons, arenas, terrain, and game modes, including Capture the Flag. So here we go. We're going to hop right into this and probably suck because, honestly, these old Atari games were really hard. At least for me. I don't know. I don't have the old dinky Atari joystick. I'm using a PS5 controller, right? So, anyway, let's hop right into this.
Get ready.
This reminds me of the videos for the Intellivision Omnico.
Shot.
Really like the 8-bit sound effects.
Oh my god, it really is Tank controls! Oh. I'm player one, by the way, the one who's barely doing anything. Just FYI, in case you can't figure it out.
Shot.
No! Don't! Ah, no! Where's my mommy? Alright. Jesus. Well, that didn't last long. Alright, can I, oh, there I am down there.
Original retro graphics on Quadra Tank.
So they have the original game in here as well, Lester. This is the remake, but the original game is in here as well. It's a separate game. We'll be going into that one next. Okay, let's see. Holy shit. How do I get out of this this corner? Alright, there we go. Damn, these controls. I need to get used to this. I'm not used to these type of tank controls. these are not what I'm used to. Alright.
Game feels faster than the original Garrison.
Yeah, it probably is, for sure. I'm coming. It only took me 16 years, but I'm coming. No, I blew myself up. How did I do that? All right.
Help.
Well, I think we can see with full. I think we can see quite clearly that I'm not very good at this. Oh.
Range.
Can I pick some of these up?
I think I heard the other tank say you suck.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Shot.
They're just like, who is this? Who is this soldier we hired? He doesn't even know what he's doing. Yeah.
Shot.
All right. Well, we get the idea. I'm not going to sit here and embarrass myself. Now, all of these come with the original instruction manuals, all scanned in. So it's really cool. This is really a complete collection. Right down to the booklets. You get the original boxes. Obviously not to the extent that Stu has. Stu has the actual original boxes. But you get the scans of the original boxes and you can rotate them and stuff like that. Now keep in mind, I said this at the beginning of this stream, that I am not an Atari guy. I've never really had an Atari console, nor have I ever played one. The first time I've played an Atari game was probably Tapper at my friend's place when I was a kid, and then again when I played a couple of games with Stu on his channel. For all intents and purposes, I've never played an Atari console. My very first console was the N64, and my very first portable console was the Game Boy, the classic Game Boy. So I never really played many Atari games growing up. My first foray into video games was on a Tandy 1000 SX, and again, the games that I played then were like King's Quest 1, Space Quest 1, and Police Quest 1, and Leisure Suit Larry 1. I think I played Leisure Suit Larry 1 at a very young age. I think I was like 6 or 7, and I remember telling that to Al Lowe, and he's like, "Damn, and you're not calling me from jail? You're not talking to me from jail?" I thought it was really funny. Anyway, so let's head back up here. We can't play that. All right. From transistors to CPUs. Early arcade games like Tank and Pong were not software programs. Instead, they were built purely out of custom computer hardware mounted on massive motherboards.
What? You played Larry at that age? How would your parents let you get away with
My
that?
dad brought it home and introduced it to me. He was the one who literally got me past all of the questions. You know, at the beginning they ask you those.
His parents were in jail.
His yeah. No, my parents were cool, man. They were cool. They still are. The 1975 release of the incredibly affordable MOS 6502 processor meant that Atari and others could now program their games in software. Home Pong. Although the Magnavox Odyssey, designed by Ralph Baer, had already come out in 1972, the home video game craze truly kicked off with the wildly successful home Pong, first released as shown here by the retailer Sears as Telegames Pong for the 1975 Christmas season. There's a close-up of the Telegames, what controller I guess that is, or console, maybe a bit of both. Atari Pinball? Atari launched a pinball division in 1975 with the aim of innovating on the still popular game. Atari built more expensive machines with advanced computer hardware and larger playfields. But the new technology was not reliable. Atari quickly left the pinball business, but not before producing some interesting tables.
Played so much Pong on our console. LOL. Telegames was the Sears brand.
Telegames was the Sears brand? Fair enough. See, Stu's educating me as well as the program is. So it's really cool. Oh, we got another video, folks. We're going to hop into this in a sec here. Atari's pinball problem. Eugene Jarvis, who would go on to create video game hits like Defender, joined Atari in 1977 to program the processors that controlled its new pinball games.
The collection for PC is $40 on GOG, but only $12 on Steam for me.
Yeah, I think I paid around $40 for it on PS5.
It recommends Steam then lol.
What he found was a company that, in his view, was making all the wrong decisions about pinball design. Alright, so let's watch this video and learn about pinball.
I mean, Atari really, why were they in the pinball business? You know, here they had this tiger by the tail of video games, you know, just this supernova of creativity and possibilities, and, you know, they were nailing it left and right, creating new genres every other week. Why would you mess around with pinball? You could tell our games were just not working, you know, and due to reliability, poor engineering, you know, thermal issues, issues of the games just falling apart, poor hardware design. You know, I could see the writing was on the wall that we were going to go down. I mean, the pinball division was just a massive disaster. I mean, it was, you know, it's kind of the, you know, kind of.
They made a Superman superhero pinball, I think.
Silicon Valley, even in that era, you know, was like, oh, these morons in Chicago, they make these crappy old games, you know, like, you know, we're going to redesign everything. We're going to put the display down in the bottom. We're going to, you know, put the boards, you know, underneath the play field so all the crap falls in and shorts out the things. And I mean, it was really horrific design, and they caught on fire. And, the solenoids, they used this thing called rotary solenoids, which burned up and the screws fell out. And, you know, it was kind of a, you know, just a complete disaster as far as like design and also testing. And so there was a lot of games that caught on fire in the early days. So, but they made a lot of money when they were working. You know, I think the programming was awesome because I did it. You know.
Well, there you go. The Atarians. Atari entered the pinball market in 1977 with the Atarians.
Don't think I ever saw an Atari pinball machine in the wild.
No, I don't think I have either. I'm sure it exists in like the Pinball Hall of Fame in like Vegas or something. Atari entered the pinball market in 1977 with the Atarians, which featured a wide-body playfield that was 27 inches wide, compared to a standard machine's approximate 20-inch width. It was also an early example of a pinball game controlled by a computer processor, versus simply being built out of electromechanical parts. So now we can zoom in on these images, very high-def zoom in here, and see them up close and personal. There's a lot of content here, and I gotta be honest, I'm not as big of an Atari buff as Stu is, obviously, but for what this is, I really did enjoy it, because I went through all this before doing the stream today, and I watched all the videos and I played all the games, well, most of them anyway, and I do have to say I do understand the appeal of Atari, especially with certain YouTubers like Stu and others who cover Atari games. They're not necessarily for me. I feel like they're a lot more challenging than the modern day games. I do feel like modern day games don't have that challenge anymore. I feel like we've kind of lost that. We've kind of lost the challenge. And a friend of mine and I were talking about that actually today, where we were playing the Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection. And we were like, the amount of enemies that they're hurling at you constantly, especially in the arcade cabinet version of that game, you could tell that these developers were like, oh no, we want to kill off this player as quickly as possible so that he spends more money. At the cabinet to just, And I feel like Atari was kind of the same way with their arcade cabinets. It was like, the same kind of shit. Like, I mean, they wanted to make their games hard so that you're just constantly popping quarters in.
So true.
Yeah, to feed their, exactly. It was all about making money. Whereas today it still is that. Don't get me wrong, but it's more catered to the consumer, to the customer rather, than it is anything else, because today's games, we have the choice of various difficulties. Atari games, we didn't have that. And certainly not arcade games.
The game lasts about 3 minutes.
The goal was to rip out the customer's hair as quickly as possible. So it reminds me of remember the Seinfeld episode? where George was playing...
would only play once.
Yeah. Remember the Seinfeld episode where George was playing Frogger? He tries to bring the cabinet home.
Was the ideal.
Time 2000. The first pinball machine for which Jarvis did the programming was Time 2000. Like the Atarians,
good episode.
It was a good episode. Like the Atarians, it featured a wide-body playfield for more scoring opportunities and more ball action. In keeping with the time theme...
That's what my wife said.
What? What did your wife... Ball action?
Is this Jarvis from Iron Man?
Yes. I'm glad you're paying attention, Stu. Yes, Jarvis from Iron Man. Yeah, you definitely know your Atari. What the hell? In keeping with the time theme, it features 2 clocks in the playfield that advance bonus counters, designed by Marty Rosenthal. So we can look at the...
doesn't get it, Lester Lowell.
No, I don't, because I'm not an Atari nerd like you. I know who Jarvis is. You're talking Jarvis from the Avengers, I'm assuming.
"3 minutes was the ideal." That's what his wife said.
All right. Airborne Adventure, the first pinball game designed by Steve Ritchie, who went on to create famed machines like Black Knight and High Speed, and who still designs pinballs to this day, programming by Eugene Jarvis. Hercules. At 7 feet tall, 8 feet deep, and over 3 feet wide, Atari's Hercules is the biggest commercial pinball machine ever manufactured. Instead of standard silver pinballs, it used pool cue balls. Ultimately, once players got past the novelty factor, Hercules wasn't much fun. It was the last pinball machine Atari ever produced.
Hercules. It's cool but not fun to play.
See, Stu's there. Stu was there for the... He was one of the guys they interviewed. I'm telling you, folks, the Hercules pinball table is not fun to play, I'm telling you. It's boring as hell, I'm telling you. I had more fun playing with my baby hands. Alright. Breakout. Famously designed by Apple founders Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Breakout was essentially a single-player Pong in which the player had to continually deflect a bouncing ball back up to the top of the screen to break rows of bricks. It was a smashing success, including in Japan, where it inspired the later creation of Space Invaders by Taito. So we're going to play that in a second. We're just going to learn more information about it before we play it. Promotional flyer. The Atari logo on the Breakout flyer includes the company's original tagline, Innovative Leisure. You're not going to stick around, Lester? Watch some pinball or watch me fail at another Atari game? Oh, they have a remake.
It wasn't really designed by them, I think. They just figured out how to make it with a minimum of transistors.
Neo Breakout. New for 2022 from Digital Eclipse. This modern update to Breakout features an exciting new graphical style, as well as a competitive two-player mode, Battle Breakout. So should we do the original first, or should we do the remake? Maybe we'll do the original first. Play. Release year 1976, platform arcade, a single-player brick-breaking variation on Pong's ball and paddle mechanics. Breakout was created by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, who would later form Apple. The working prototype came as a surprise to Atari's head of engineering, Al Alcorn, as it was not an assigned project. Alrighty, let's get the show on the road. Player 1, insert coin. There's only going to be one of me today, so it's basically Arkanoid. Yeah, perfect so far. Oh, fantastic. We're doing great. Yep, this is there we go. Takes me a little bit to get started, just don't you know. All right. What? Why is there... Did I... Oh, it's because I lost. All right, let's insert another coin. Let's try that again. That was terrible. So basically Arkanoid before Arkanoid, I would assume. I'm assuming there was various variations of this game. The one I remember playing was Arkanoid. I played Arkanoid on my Tandy 1000 SX computer back in the day. So that would have been like the mid 80s on my 16-color monitor, which was, you know, amazing back then to have 16-color display. It just blew my little mind. And of course today, if I had that, I would be disappointed. And I remember, oh, whoa, no, I don't want to play two players. What did I just do there? How's that going to work anyway? Oh, wait, is it going to let me have more turns as the second player? I don't know. I don't even know how this would work with two players. I guess I have to pick up a second controller, maybe? Unless we just hand the controller to the other player. I've never actually tried this with two players. Maybe it's just going to give me more chances. Oh, looks like that's what it's doing. Nope, maybe not. All right. Well, I think we've determined from this that I am terrible.
Steve Jobs copied this from Arkanoid.
Did he? Well... Now, as you can see here, Stu and company, we have a lot of options for these games. We can save our game. We don't have to do these emulator saves that Stu has to do whenever he plays. We can view the flyer. We can check out the controls. We can change the screen mode. We can turn off the filter that's on it, the TV filter. We can turn off the border. There's a lot of little options here. And these settings are for every single game in this collection. There's a lot of games in this collection. I'm gonna tell you right now. Originally, when I before I bought this game and I saw the description, I thought there was going to be maybe 5 or 10 games. No, there is not 5 or 10 games. I want to say at least 100, somewhere around there. There's a lot. There's a lot of games in this collection, and it covers all of Atari's history. So we start out in the 1960s and 70s. We go into the modern times, all throughout history, into the modern times, the 2000s, and we will be playing some of those games as well. So when we get into that timeline, they do have games from that timeline as well in here. So it really is a huge part of Atari's history, and it's a great collection. Especially if you're a fan of Atari. So now this is the remake. Release year 2022 by Atari Reimagined. Created by Digital Eclipse as part of the Atari 50th anniversary celebration, which is what we're playing right now. This fresh take on breaking bricks includes different game modes, including a competitive tug-of-war between 2 players, or 1 player, versus the CPU, dubbed Battle Breakout. Alright, let's head into this. I already like the menu. Free play. How to play. Okay. As an ace shuttle pilot, you're rocketing through the darkest quadrants of the universe on what you assume is a fool's errand. When an update flashes on your visus screen, target confirmed, planet designation Eris, approaching the Erisphere. The view outside your cockpit confirms it. The legends are true. Eris, a planet surrounded by a segmented force field, utterly unique in the galaxy. Many have heard of tales of its multicolored shield, but no explorer has ever returned to verify the rumors. You gaze upon the force field with your own eyes, layer after layer of defensive bulwarks, each more complex than the last. Stretching down to the planet's surface is the Erisphere, truly impenetrable, as the legend claims? Or did previous pilots breach its defenses? And if so, were they trapped? Captured? What did they discover beyond it? Your concentration is suddenly interrupted by a squawking, static-filled signal, apparently being broadcast from the planet's surface. Fine-tuning your Vivis screen to receive the transmission, you see a fuzzy figure. Human, alien, or robot, you can't quite tell. And a simple message. Erisphere breached. Unregistered craft detected. You are not welcome, interloper. Battle protocol engaged. An alarm klaxon blares in your cockpit as you ready your defensive shield and prepare your kinetic cannon. You suddenly realize why Eris has remained a myth for all these years. That wasn't really instructions, that was just like alright, so it's basically the same. So we're just breaking down bricks, except it's next gen-y. So this doesn't look next gen-y. This looks this looks easier than the other one. See, so my point stands as to what I said earlier. So instead of making it hard like the original Atari game, they've made it so that anybody can pick it up and play it. I'm assuming it'll get harder as the levels progress, but I mean, it's already totally different than the Atari one. First of all, my paddle is a lot bigger. Second, the ball is moving a lot slower, thereby making it a lot easier for me to hit my mark. Whereas on the Atari version that we played not that long ago, the original, the ball was moving a lot faster and my paddle was a lot smaller. But then that was made for arcade cabinets as well, so I mean they wanted to eat your quarters, whereas this one, not so much. Wow, that... Okay. Well, let's just send it up. No, okay, We'll get there eventually. Maybe. Maybe. We don't know. There. Knocked one down. Oh, let's... Ah, shit. Alright. Get that last one. Come on. You can do it. There we go. Oh! Okay. Well then. Time barrier breached. Ah! Alrighty, now we're going into like the more modern... Ball's going a bit faster now, too. Okay, I see how they did that. So the original... Alright. That's kind of cool, actually. So the first level was like showing like what the original game, I guess, looked like on the original Atari. And then we're going into the modern times now. This is kind of cool. I like this. Not bad. Definitely like the music. The background is kind of cool. The floating shapes in the background. Planets. Various things. Oh. And there we go. We didn't last very long at all. I don't know if I want to put in my name here. I don't know if I'm too proud about that score. I got first place? How? Am I to believe that I'm better than all the people who made this game? I didn't even get very far. Alright. We get the idea. A clash of cultures. In November 1976, Warner Communications acquired Atari for $26 million, about $130 million in 2022. Atari's main reason for seeking a buyer was that it needed funding to produce its first game console with interchangeable cartridges, the Atari VCS. But the marriage of Atari's freewheeling spirit and Warner's corporate culture would prove an uneasy one. Why Warner wanted Atari? Warner Communications, for its part, was eager to expand its entertainment holdings, seeing video games as an entertainment industry with growth potential. After buying Atari, it quickly began investing more money into it to grow the business. Ray Kassar, a Harvard Business School graduate, Ray Kassar enjoyed a successful career in textiles before Warner installed him as president and CEO of Atari in 1978. Kassar led the company through its most intense periods of rapid growth and enormous profit, as well as its most dramatical financial losses. We got a close-up of Ralph here. Notable and quotable. When Warner kicked in, Ray Kassar had marketing that knew nothing about games. They didn't play games. Marketing told engineering what to do, and basically turned it into a stodgy, old, calcified, filthy rich company. Al Alcorn, former Atari Vice President of R&D. In came Ray Kassar, and now there was a new mindset. The new mindset is, we've got a cash cow, we've got to milk the crap out of it. Howard Scott Warshaw, designer of Yar's Revenge. I don't think Ray ever really understood the value of the engineering talent that he had. Wendy Allen, designer of Lunar Lander. A fateful shirt. Relations between Atari's designers and the management at Warner did not improve when executive Ray Kazar called the designers a bunch of high-strung prima donnas. In a newspaper interview, in response, the designers printed these shirts which read, "Just another high-strung prima donna from Atari," and wore them to work. That's actually kind of clever, not gonna lie. Just to piss him off. There you go. Could you imagine if we did it just in retail jobs as well? If you just did that, you were pissed off by your employer at like Walmart or something. You just show up with a work that says I'm a piece of shit according to my managers. There were a fair number of people miffed at that high-strung prima donna thing, and Carlina, who was one of the graphic artists in the publications group. We just thought a little and said, that'd make a great t-shirt. Mike Albo, former Atari programmer. Did they do drugs at Atari? One of the often heard stories about Atari game design is that drugs were often involved. We put the question directly to the designers who were there and found that everyone's experience was quite different.
You will hear stories of hot tubs in the lobby and drug use in the office, and I'm here to tell you that none of that happened in my department.
We started smoking pot right in our office. Rob and I were like the premier pot. Sorry, Rob. I and some other person who occasionally shared an office with me for 5 years at Atari, however that frickin' worked, we would just fire up right in the office. It's like, who knows why? It's like, it's illegal. It's like, it wasn't even a sense of privilege. It was just mindlessness.
I worked in a satellite office. I started in 1977, which was still pretty early. It was only 18 months since the 2600 came out. But there was no hot tub in the lobby of the office that I went to. There was no drug use in Atari, though I don't doubt that it was over where Howard and Todd Fry were working.
Drugs were consumed at Atari by all kinds of people at all levels of management, from the bottom to the top and all over engineering. Not everybody did drugs, but some people did, and some people enjoyed them, and some people abused them, and some people went to the hospital on them. And but by and large, drugs were a relatively nominal factor. Drugs, there was a lot of marijuana, and it participated a lot in brainstorming. So we had the way of, trying to incorporate drugs into our productivity model.
I went home and I smoked a joint, a little bit of cocaine and a little bit of psilocybin in it. And I was sitting there, it was about half gone when I realized, oh, you could do that. And it's like I put it out and I went and I wrote a page of notes. And my design for that kernel was exactly what it ended up shipping. It was like, it was a tremendous amount of effort, actually, to get everything organized.
They did have good deliveries of cannabis in the inter-office mail. That was probably the primary use of those yellow manila envelopes. I think it was Fridays or Monday. I think it was Fridays when you get these really thick envelopes coming through the system. And it was weird. There was a guy working there, and his job was he was the weed dealer. That was his sole job at the whole company.
And there was a very straight German VP of hardware down the hallway in the building. I have no idea. He complained to management about the smell of pot smoke in the corridors. So they got him an office in a different building.
I have been asthmatic since I've been 12. I need drugs to breathe. I did not do drugs because drugs to me were something that let you get up in the morning, and breathe. So and nor did I think I wanted to mix those things. The high of me was doing the work, and I was always a happy guy. So I just didn't feel I needed it. So I never did drugs, but there were a lot there.
Don't put too much stock in the fact that every Atari employee was stoned out of their minds while making games.
I mean, there was all kinds of drugs consumed at Atari, but the real drug at Atari was going into a store and seeing your product, seeing your game on a shelf.
I mean, that makes sense. That's another high entirely, where you see your finished product that you worked on, and you can finally be proud of what you've accomplished. Whether or not it sells well is another thing, but I mean, like, certainly, I can understand. I can definitely understand having a high from like seeing your product out on the shelf. Spring 8, an 8-player driving game. Sprint 8 was a massive cabinet that featured 8 steering wheels and 8 sets of gas brake pedals arranged around a monitor that pointed upwards, allowing 8 friends or enemies to race simultaneously. Promotional flyer. 8 cars are on the track during every race. Whether 1 or 8 players are driving, explains the Sprint 8 flyer. The drone cars are computer controlled, so the competition always stays tough. Alright, now I have to subject myself to this. Alright. Platform arcade, release year 1977. An evolution of key games as Indy 800, and an expansion of Atari's Sprint 2
You seem like the
and
type
Sprint
of guy
4.
who has 7 enemies.
I do? There you go. I'm telling you, I got a whole bunch of enemies. I'm telling you, Stu. They're all over the place. These fucking enemies. I'm telling you. I can't stay in my strip club long enough they don't fucking walking in the door. Alright. Sprint 4 coin ops. Sprint 8's original cabinet supplied drivers with a 4-way shifter, as well as gas and brake pedals. And in a nod to 70s arcade culture, ashtrays. If 8 human players weren't racing, the then new 6502 processor controlled semi-autonomous traffic drone drivers to keep the track congested. Alright. Oh, Jesus. I already can tell where this is going to go. I don't even need to... Alright. Yeah, this is going to be freaking fantastic. Let's get this accident on the road. Uh-huh. Gee, I wonder which one I am. I'm the red for those not knowing. I'm the one that's drunk on the track. So in case you wonder, well, there we go. Yeah, no. This is fantastic. Yeah. This is we'll get there eventually. I wonder what place I am. Oh my god. Okay, these controls are not easy. Jesus. Could they make them any more complicated? Okay. The turning is very strange. It's not simply left and right. It's like you have to like literally spin the joystick. I've never seen anything like this. This is the weirdest control layout I've ever seen. I'm not gonna lie. This is bad. This is not a control layout I would ever recommend for a racing game. Oh, well, no, see, okay. Yeah, we're done. I think we're done with that. That's, wow. That's, I mean, maybe it's better with an Atari joystick and not a modern game console, controller, because that was painful. Atari Video Music, the first electronic music visualizer ever sold commercially. Atari Video Music could be hooked up to a user's stereo system and television set to display psychedelic visuals, reminiscent of Atari VCS graphics, to the rhythms of whatever music was playing. A variety of knobs and buttons on the front of the device let users adjust the images. Here we go. Oh wait,
it's too bad you couldn't play the pinball game.
Yeah, no, they didn't have the pinball. Oh, there's 3 images in here. Okay. What? Why is she wearing like a VR headset? That's kind of a weird. That's kind of a weird ad introducing music you can watch, but what you're not really watching it. You're watching it on your screen. You're not watching it on a VR headset. Now, I will admit, Atari did make the very first VR headset, but it didn't get released to the general public, and they do cover that later on in this game, in this program. Now, the Atari did release the first VR headset. Now, granted, it didn't get out to the public, but I mean, it was in production. And ultimately was scrapped, likely either due to budget or due to the fact that at the time they realized that, man, maybe this wasn't going to go anywhere. Fire Truck, based on designer Wendy Allen's previous game, Superbug. Fire Truck is a unique 2-player cooperative game in which one player, sitting in the cabinet, steers with the front half of a fire truck, while the other player, standing behind the seated player, swings the rear half. So before we go into play that, let's read some more about these games. Superbug, the first game programmed and designed by Wendy Allen, née Howard Delman. Superbug was a racing game featuring a bug-style car. The game was rendered entirely in black and white. The car appeared to be yellow because of a layer of transparent plastic over the monitor. They have Fire Truck in
Lots of fun.
In Barcade, New York. Barcade. Interesting name. Cool. Did you actually cover it or play it on your channel? Well, we'll be playing it in a second here anyway. Promotional flyer. On its flyer, Atari promoted Fire Truck's Dura-Stress solid-state electronics, an improvement over the less reliable transistor-based hardware of earlier games.
Not on my channel yet.
Yet being the key word, so you do plan to show it. That's cool. I'm looking forward to that, because I did try this Fire Truck game on here and I did enjoy it. Not gonna lie, it was pretty cool. Platform arcade, release year 1978, featuring a cabinet with 2 steering wheels. Fire Truck was the first cooperative arcade game. One driver steered the truck's cab while another piloted the trailer. Creator Wendy Allen, formerly Howard Delman, says the horn button serves no gameplay purpose. It was put in just there for fun, she says. Alright, so we're going to do front start, easy track. Nope. What? Did that switch to hard? Oh. Okay, so we'll do easy track. Oh, it's using the trigger. That's interesting. Okay. Oh! Alright, yeah, that... I think we created our own fire there. And again. Let's get this fire truck lined up. All right. Oh, no. Are we gonna get to the fire before everything just gets blown up? Probably not. Now the arrows are, I guess, guiding me to the route I have to take. That's kind of cool. Kind of like almost like a waypoint. Kind of like what you see in like modern day open world games like Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that, where you have a waypoint telling you, you know, this is the route you want to take. Don't go the opposite way because you're probably not going to get to where you want to go. All right, where is this? I think by the time we get to the fire, my fire truck's just going to be useless. I don't think this thing's ever going to put out a fire. This thing's just going to probably explode as soon as it arrives at the house. Now, who puts oil on the road like that? Seriously. Yeah, I'm going up this way, I guess.
You're supposed to play this with 2 people.
Yeah, well, I don't have 2 people, Stu. Otherwise, I would.
One person controls the front and one the back.
Yeah, I understand that, but I don't have 2 players. It's just little old me, so you'll have to deal with it. I've asked you multiple times to add me.
I think this collection is automatically controlling the back for you.
Yeah, no. Well, I picked one player. So yes, the second player is automatically controlling the back. Yes. So this collection has. See how it says rear start? Press the start button for the second player. Well, we didn't make it to our destination. I don't know. So I don't understand. Are we actually supposed to make it to a fire? Or is the point of this is just to race around in a fire truck? I got a score of 110. Good. But I didn't get anywhere. How am I good? The house probably burnt to a...
I think it goes on forever and it's just a score.
Oh, okay. Okay, so there's no actual end location. Fair enough. Well, that's fire truck. So let's hop back on out of here. I do like the option to be able to save your game for every single Atari game in this collection. That's really nice.
When you lose points.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. All right,
but it's
next
totally
game.
Different with 2 people.
Oh, I imagine it would be. Super
Because
Breakout.
We're yelling at each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Turn left. No. Turn right. No. What you do? What you do? You fucking idiot. You drove into a building. Hey, you fucking Goomba. All right. Super Breakout. An update to the original game designed by Ed Rotberg. Super Breakout was billed as 3 games in 1. A switch on the front of the unit let the player choose between 3 different game variations. It still had a black and white display with color added via plastic overlays on the monitor. 3 games in 1. The user selectable double, progressive, and cavity game variations are detailed on Super Breakout's flyer, noting each requires even more skill than the original game. Alrighty. Well, I guess I'm subjecting myself to this one too. Platform Arcade, release year 1978. Programmer Ed Rotberg updated the original brick-breaking coin-op with multiple modes that the player could select via a switch, which was a rarity in 1978. Double offered dual paddles and 2 balls. Cavity featured trapped balls that the player could free, and the high-tension progressive mode drops the brick walls closer to the player as the game progresses. Okay. So let's What am I doing here? Cavity. Oh, this is how I pick. Progressive, I guess. We'll do progressive. Where's my start button here? I might need to look at the controls. Game select, yeah. Serve X. Player 1 start. Okay. That's what I was clicking. Oh, now it's working. The hell? All right. So that didn't work. There we go. Wow. Okay. We're not doing too good here. All right. Let's insert. We'll try one more time. Insert another credit. Let's get this show on the road. See if we can make some progress. Why is that not... Oh, there we go. Jesus. All right. Damn it. All right. And again, I do feel like a lot of these games would probably play better with an actual Atari controller, an actual Atari joystick. I feel like using a modern day game controller, you're kind of like, I don't know. I feel like it doesn't perform as well. I might be wrong, but it just feels to me like it's probably not meant for those kind of a controller unless they've, actually programmed it for that kind of a controller. But we'll try one more round. Oh. So it's very similar again to Breakout is very similar again to Arkanoid and those kind of games. The only difference I'm seeing here is that the ball is kind of going pretty damn fast. You're really having to keep your eye on that ball. You don't want to let it out of your sight for even a split second. All right, so that's Super Breakout, and again we have all these different modes here. Oh, I noticed that you can't save your game in this one. That's interesting. But we still can adjust the filters and the screen mode and the border and all that kind of stuff. So that's cool. Still has the customization option, just not the ability to save the game. Lunar Lander. Vector displays were a new Jesus. Okay, let's repeat that again. Vector displays were a new technology that allowed games to draw crisp, clean, high-resolution lines. Lunar Lander, designed by Wendy Allen and Rich Moore, was Atari's first vector game. In sharp contrast to other fast-paced arcade games, Lunar Lander was a deliberate, methodical game in which the player had to carefully land a space capsule on the surface of the moon. Promotional flyer. Another Atari first announces the Lunar Lander flyer, calling it the first one-player game to authentically simulate an actual moon landing mission. Yeah, no, I know. I was trying it. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And this one also has a remake, I think, in here as well, if I remember correctly. Notable and quotable. Vector games look different from raster games, and there is a mental shift in game design when working with vector graphics. Wendy Allen. Yeah, there's the remake. In tribute to the classic vector graphics era, Digital Eclipse presents VCTR-SCTR, an original game developed in 2022 that blends the best elements of Lunar Lander, Asteroids, and other vector-based arcade games into a single experience. So we will do the original Lunar Lander first, and then we'll go into the to the remake. Platform arcade, release year 1979. Lunar Lander was Atari's first vector game, as well as the first arcade game to change the player's perspective, automatically zooming in as the craft nears the moon's surface. A notoriously difficult but popular game, Lunar Lander's analog thruster controller demanded skill and patience. Both of which I don't have. So this is going to go really well. All right. Are we playing right now? Oh, yep. Okay. I am in control. Good. Oh, if I remember correctly, where's my rocket boost? There it is. All right. No, don't, no. You want to boost me down, not up. Why am I going up? No, we're not going up. Take me down. This is going really well. What?
You're in control. For now.
I'm in control, and I'm controlling it very well. I'm apparently heading to the moon. Wait, no, I'm supposed to be landing on. Maybe I'm heading. I'm supposed to be landing on the moon. No, I'm heading back to Earth. Apparently, I have had enough of this shit.
You're burning fuel. Sheesh.
Perfect. Excellent landing. Look at that. Destroyed 5 points. All right, let's try that one more time.
LOL.
I've seen you play this, actually. If I remember correctly, you've played this on your channel, haven't you? Because I remember you having problems with this as well. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. Oh. Yeah. NASA is over there just shaking their head. They're just like, maybe for future...
video on it. Stu's reviews 2 or 3.
NASA's over here thinking, maybe we shouldn't have given control of our lunar lander to a gamer. Just thought. Just like, how many lives do I have? Well, there you go. I hope you're happy, NASA. I have successfully destroyed all 3 of your lunar landers. You now have no fuel, and we're not landing on the moon. We're done. That the moon says it's out. We're heading back to Earth. We don't need. Yeah, we're good. Oh, I can add glow. What? The hell does that do? That didn't do anything. I'm confused. That's not that doesn't do anything. Am I missing something here? What is this doing? It's adding glow here, but it's not adding glow unless I have to reset the game. No, there's no glow. What? All right. Well, that worked wonderful. Full screen, wide. Huh. Well, that looks nice. I like that. That's better. I like that. So they have support to play it in widescreen format for the high definition TVs and stuff. That's cool. All right. Anyway, Lunar Lander. Let's head into the remake. Platform Atari Reimagined. Release year 2022. A Digital Eclipse tribute to Atari's distinctive vector graphics arcade games. VCTR-SCTR takes inspiration from Asteroids, Lunar Lander, Tempest, and more in a remixed twin-stick shooter that honors Atari's arcade legacy on its 50th anniversary. 50th. 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 50 we are what is one player versus? What is that? Well, let's see. One player. How to play. Move. Alright, we've moved. Fire. We have fired and shield. We have shield. Just blows me up. Get ready. We're gonna blow you up now. So be prepared for that. So this part is the asteroids part by the looks of it. I like it. Oh my god, really? Except that now we have a shield. Haha. Bam. So in fact, what I said earlier about how modern games are making it easier. Tip use shield. I was using my shield. What are you talking about, Willis? I was using my shield. It's not my fault that the shield broke. Alright. Come on. We got this. Slow down. Alright. I'm going too fast. Looks like we're trying to land a Christmas tree on the moon. The design here is kind of strange, I'm not gonna lie. I preferred the original design of the lunar lander. This just looks like... This just looks like a tree. Oh, for Pete's sakes. How did I get a higher score than the developers? They obviously didn't play very much. They collided into an asteroid, I guess. Oh, there we go. Game over. Yeah, I'll say it. What do we got for menu? Okay. Well, I did like that, but I do find that they've made it easier by giving you access to a shield. Granted, it didn't help me in anything, but I mean, it's lost a lot of its challenge now, because now you have the shield. Now granted, I think you also run out of shield power, so it's very similar to having the fuel where it can run out. The shield is the same way, but I mean, at the same time, when you're relying on the shield, you don't have to worry about banging into the environment and destroying your lunar lander, because you got that shield. So you can instead focus on trying to get a perfect landing. So again, going back to what I was saying earlier with Lester, it proves my point that modern day gaming is becoming a lot easier than what it used to be, where we're kind of catering to possibly a younger audience, or at least catering to everybody so that anybody can just pick up a game, not be stressed, and, have access to whatever, easier game modes, cheat codes, whatever. Whereas back then we didn't have that kind of a luxury. All right. Here we go, Stu. A game named after you and your wife's relationship. No, I'm just joking. Okay. Touch Me. After the success of the handheld game Simon, which took inspiration from Atari's 1974 arcade game, Touch Me, Atari released a handheld version of Touch Me that, in turn, took inspiration from Simon. Atari planned to release more handheld games, but this was the only one
This is
that
named
shipped.
after my relationship with myself.
Oh, there you go. There, I knew it. I knew it was one of the two. It was either with your wife or with yourself. Yeah. Atari had contacted Stu back in the day and asked him to evaluate his sex life for them, and based on that, they came up with this game. This was the only one that shipped in this collection. You can play a recreated version of the main gameplay mode of handheld Touch Me. Well, we'll do that in a sec. Let's look at these other little flyers and stuff. Super Breakout Handheld. Todd Fry, creator of the Sword Quest series, designed this handheld version of Super Breakout, which was never released. It would have used a 32 by 32 pixel LCD screen. A similar handheld version of Space Invaders was also announced and also cancelled. So there we go. We got a three-dimensional look of the box, which we can rotate, which is kind of cool, actually. 2 9-volt alkaline batteries required, not included. Battery eliminator available separately. What? So like a power pack? Interesting. So there we go. Original art. Original artwork used on the Super Breakout handheld box by George Opperman. Super Breakout handheld advertisement. An advertising flyer running down the features of the cancelled Super Breakout handheld machine. I'm not gonna lie, that is kind of cool. It's kind of like the first rendition of kind of like a Game Boy, right? It's kind of like the first kind of Game Boy, really. Game Boy before Game Boy, if you will. Or I guess it's more like it's more like the Atari Game & Watches that they used to have back in the day. Except there's no watch here, and you've got like a dial. It reminds me of those old dials when you have like the TV antennas. You just like flip the dial on the TV. You'd have to wait for your TV antenna to get into position so that you could get your TV show looking as good as it could. I use that term very loosely because as good as it could, oftentimes it looked like it looked terrible. I remember for the longest time, my parents had this TV antenna, and we would flip the dial, wait for the TV antenna to turn a specific direction, and then our show would come in. Not necessarily picture clear, but clear enough that we could watch it at any rate. Anyway, let's go into Simon Says, which realistically is what this is. Touch Me, platform LED handheld game, release year 1979. Atari's original Touch Me appeared as an audio only, follow the leader arcade game in 1974. Ralph Baer borrowed the idea, adding colored buttons and more musical sounds for his 1978 handheld game Simon. Atari incorporated Baer's improvements in their own handheld version of Touch Me, which has been digitally reproduced here by Digital Eclipse. Ages 7 to adult. Well, let's, what is high? Hold on. Looks at the manual for a sec. Skill button. Okay. High. Displays the highest score reached. Okay. All right. Okay. Alrighty. I mean, it's pretty basic. So, wham. Let's turn this thing on. Skill level, whatever. I used to have Simon Says back as a kid. I remember I got it one year for Christmas, and I would spend hours just messing around on it.
You're good at touching me.
Oh, shit, there was 3 there. Shit, I screwed that up. Alright. There we go. Oh, screw that one up. Well, I mean, we get the idea. I could, be here for hours, but we get the idea. It's basically Simon Says. That is kind of cool that it got recreated for this. It's kind of neat. I don't mind that. That's kind of cool. I like that. It adds a unique element, I guess you could say. Asteroids, of course, we all know asteroids from Star Wars, but we also know it from the game. Asteroids still exist to this day. Many games have covered it in as many games within their games. So you can usually find asteroids in a number of games, actually. Like Call of Duty, I think, had an arcade cabinet that was asteroids that you could play. I think Space Quest even covered it. But asteroids, like, everybody kind of knows it. Asteroids, by far, Atari's biggest selling arcade game of all time. Asteroids was created by Lyle Raines and Ed Logg, based on Wendy Allen's Lunar Lander hardware. It pulled in more quarters than any other game in the year to follow, becoming the first smash arcade hit of the 1980s. It was also the first game with a high score initials leaderboard. Yep, same with Frogger, as George found out. 3 ways to play. Smaller cabinets meant games could be placed in locations where space was tight. So Asteroids was offered in cabaret and horizontal cocktail table versions, as well as the standard upright cabinet. Here's some shots of the flyer. We get all of our dimensions. We got phone numbers. Stu, you should phone one of these numbers right now. Phone the Eastern region, 1-800-631-5374. Call them up. See if you can buy an asteroid cabinet for yourself.
You used to sing in a cabaret, right?
Oh yes. I used to sing. I used to serenade in a cabaret. I was very good. You should go check me out one night. Yes, it's going to make your ears bleed.
Notable and quotable. Asteroids was initially being developed as a raster game called Planet Grab, with different play dynamics. The object of the game was to claim more planets than your opponent. Wendy Allen. Alright, let's play Asteroids. It had a sequel, by the way. I don't know if Stu knew this, but Asteroids actually had a sequel. It was never made, but it did have a sequel called Hemorrhoids. And it was never made because it didn't have enough. It didn't come with enough cream when it released, so they had to cancel it. Asteroids, platform arcade, release year 1979. Arcade games used vector graphics before Asteroids, but Atari's 1980 space shooter brought the crisp line-based graphics technology to the forefront.
I think you're mistaken, I have hemorrhoids.
You have hemorrhoids? Well, I don't know if you have the game. I think you probably have the other thing. Players pilot a triangular spaceship, blasting apart and navigating through a field of progressively smaller, faster asteroids. A massive success and a key franchise for years to come. Asteroids sold over 100,000 arcade cabinets worldwide. This doesn't look like the original. What? Hold on. Let me fix this screen mode for a sec. Yeah. Let's try this. There we go. I was wondering what the thing was in the corner. All right, that looks better. I'll just leave it like that from now on. The widescreen just kind of messes with it. All right. Player 1. Okay, where's my... Oh, shit, okay. Alright. I am confused. Where is my, what button is my accelerate? Alright, I'm gonna have to look at the controls here, because that's what I was pressing. That doesn't make any sense. Rotate ship left, rotate ship right. Thrust is R2. Well, that's what I was pressing, and it wasn't doing anything. Let's try that again. Oh, now it's... What? That was weird. I actually owned... This was one of the games I actually owned on my Tandy 1000. I actually owned a copy of Asteroids.
You lost R2.
R2-D2. Where are you going? I lost the ship too. Not just R2. I blew up my little triangle. My little shooting Christmas tree blew up after an asteroid.
These games smell like old people.
After an asteroid hit it right in the hemorrhoids. Hello, always asleep. Welcome. We are playing old people games that are right up Stu's alley. These are the kind of games that he dreams about playing in his sleep. As we can tell, Stu has very boring dreams. But honestly, this collection, I do recommend it if you're a fan of Atari. Definitely pick it up. It's got a lot of great content and a lot of really cool interviews. I mean, like, we get to learn a lot about Atari's history from a lot of people who were involved with Atari and a lot of people who weren't. So there's a lot of game developers on here and you know what? They even have a Colossal Cave on here, which I was surprised to see. The original Colossal Cave is on here. Under the name Adventure, but it's Colossal Cave. So that was pretty nice to be able to see on here, because the Atari version of Colossal Cave was called Adventure. All right, so we got the only high score, which is kind of sad now that I think about it. I didn't do very well, but fair enough. Moving right along here, Missile Command. This is the game that was featured in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, actually. If you guys remember when John Connor was in the arcade and the T-1000 was looking for him in the mall, he was actually playing Missile Command. And the reason James Cameron chose Missile Command as the game for John Connor to play was that it was very reminiscent of what he was depicting in the future war between Skynet and the survivors, where they were constantly trying to nuke Los Angeles with their Skynet missiles. And so Missile Command was in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, kind of hearkening to future events. It was like kind of like a little nod to what is kind of going to happen in the future between Skynet and Earth. Missile Command, a decidedly political game. Missile Command was an artifact of the Cold War and an expression of fears about nuclear annihilation. Creator Dave Thurer ended each game with a chilling "the end" that signified humanity's doom, an idea that came from the nightmares that he was getting from developing the game and dwelling on the looming specter of nuclear warfare. Promotional flyer. On the game's promotional flyer, Atari describes Missile Command as the ultimate battle action experience, as well as simply stating, Missile Command is a war. Why does that guy look like he's straight out of Star Wars? What's with that helmet? It looks like he's a Buckethead from Star Wars. Well, we've got all of our little flyers here. We're going to go into the game right after looking at all this concept art, as we have done with all the others. Flyer art, the original artwork used on the Missile Command flyer by artist George Opperman. Kind of a cool flyer. Whoop, whoop. Okay. T-shirt art. Artwork used on the official Missile Command t-shirt. There you go, Stu. Do you have that shirt? Is that in your repertoire of shirts? I know you have a lot of game shirts because I've seen you wear a lot of them on your channel. Maybe you have that one. Or if you don't, you should find it. Missile Command. Oh, well, there's a seizure waiting to happen in the background. What was that? What was that?
I do not have that shirt, unfortunately.
See, get off your ass and get it. Go and look on Amazon. Maybe you can find one for a couple of million.
But I do have a couple of Atari shirts.
Yeah, I mean, you can find them in like secondhand stores usually. Missile Command, platform arcade, release year 1980. Half coin op, half Cold War era cautionary tale. Missile Command gave designer Dave Thurer nuclear nightmares while he was developing it. It struck a nerve with players too. Atari manufactured more than 20,000 cabinets of the game that would inspire the entire tower defense genre and would ultimately help define the company. Alright, let's go. Let's take care of the Terminators. Skynet, prepare to be eliminated. Oh. So there is various versions of Missile Command included in this collection, including a remake of sorts. Oh shit! I'm out of. Oh no, I'm not. All right. I fucked this up. All right. Well, a couple of our cities have been destroyed. Oh my god. I'm not doing good at all. It is literally Skynet all over again. The war against the machines. Well, what? It didn't even let me play that part. It's just like, no, you know what? You know what? You played enough. You clearly don't know what you're doing, sir. We're just gonna blow up your cities for you. What is that, an alien? Yep. Yeah, not only is the ending characteristic of, you know, everything being nuked, but it's also great for people who have seizures, because at that point, the end can mean multiple things. It can mean they're keeled over on the floor having a seizure from all the flashing lights, as well as, you know, everything being nuked in the game. So there we go. That was Missile Command. Let's, what? You can use the touchpad? Oh, well, this just makes it a lot easier. Oh, that is actually, okay. It's actually quicker with the touchpad to get to where you want to go. Because if you're using just the standard joystick, your cursor isn't moving as fast. Whereas look at that, I just whipped that thing around. That's interesting that they would push touchpad support in that. I don't know if it would be something I would recommend, but I mean, I guess it works. Alrighty, Cosmos, the holographic handheld. In January 1981, Atari announced that it would release Cosmos, a handheld gaming system in which each game would be displayed atop a custom hologram image.
This is different.
The game graphics were made up of simple LED lights, but the holograms provided a dynamic, realistic backdrop. Atari never realized the Cosmos. So there's a close-up of the Cosmos. We got a video of Al Alcorn. We're going to check this out. Al dreams of holograms. Al Alcorn, who led the Cosmos project, discusses how it all...
Had a hiccup there.
Yeah, she sometimes does. Al Alcorn, who led the Cosmos project, discusses how it all came about. Alcorn's disappointment over Atari's cancellation of Cosmos led to his exit from the company.
When was this? 1980, 81, that time frame. Prior to Ray Kassar's emergence, I was part of the executive staff, you know, and Nolan, Joe, I, Steve Bristow, Gil, Dennis Groth, finance, you know. We were all friends and no politics and all that, and we all worked together and part of the team that set, it was great. Once Ray took over, nope, it was all a closed office, and he met with all his hires from Procter & Gamble, and so I realized, okay, I'm out of this. I'm either going to have to quit because Nolan had gone, Joe had gone, Lipkin, everybody had gone. I figured, well, I'll go back. This is my baby. I'm going to do it one more time. And we had used holography. We couldn't keep secrets at Atari. We were just no good at it. So we decided the best thing to do was put out disinformation. So one of the best ones was the next coin-op game is going to have holography in it. It was like, what the hell is that? I knew what it was, because having, you know, been to college and studied this physics and stuff. But that was just, but anyway, I decided, well, let's do something in holography. Maybe there's something there. I'll take it. Sounds hard, sounds interesting. I know a little bit about it. And we proceeded to explore holography and what could be done, and came up with a holographic toy that basically sold it to Ray, saying, how would you like, because the cartridge video game business seemed to be very good. How would you like to have a system where the cartridge, it's a cartridge-based system, but the cartridges are half the cost of, everything is half the cost of the VCS. And, hey, go ahead. It were very simple. They were nothing more than an LED, a simple LED game, the handheld LED game in those days. The only difference was we had a hologram with two images on it. You look through this box, and there were two lamps inside, and when you'd crash a spaceship, you'd see a hologram of a spaceship crashing. And but you could look through this half metallized mylar and play a Space Invader game or something like that. We did all the work, put everything together, got a chip designed, package designed, and at the end, Ray wouldn't. We even took it to the toy fair or the consumer. And marketing wouldn't show it, wouldn't back it up, and we did it ourselves, engineering. And we think we sold 100,000 of them, but Ray would not release it, just wouldn't do it. And I realized that was it. They're not going to release that. I mean, this is now in a time when if it failed, you wouldn't even notice it. It wouldn't be a pimple on the balance sheet. But they were afraid to do it. Back when the whole company was, we're sure we'd do it. So that was the end of my career at Atari.
So the one thing I've noticed with watching some of these videos is that Atari kind of didn't really treat a lot of their game developers very well, at least back then. I mean, Atari's different now. I would hope anyway. I mean, they're still in the industry. They're still making games, and they're still producers. I'm pretty sure because they made they produced the Ghostbusters video game, that 2016, and then remake. I mean, there was a remake of it as well for next gen, PS4 next gen, that kind of. But I remember PS3 had a Ghostbusters game in 2016, which had the entire cast involved from the movies, voicing the characters, and Atari was the producer of that game, or maybe they were the game developer themselves. I don't remember, but so Atari is still around as a company, as far as I'm aware, and they still produce a lot of content. So I'm assuming that Atari has grown as an industry, and they don't treat their employees like they did back then. Because here, from all the videos that I have seen, Atari really didn't treat its programmers with any modicum of respect. They were just like, well, yeah, your game idea sucks. We're not going with this. We're doing our own thing. And that's why a lot of the former game developers ended up just being like, well, fuck you. We're going to another company then. Atari introduces holography, an early trade show flyer for Atari Cosmos. Actually looks pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. That looks like a really cool little thing. It's a shame it never came out. Huh. Coming out of the future. Another Cosmos flyer pitches the tabletop system as a major part of Atari's game plan for the year 1981. The holograms. Photographs of 2 holograms that were to be used for Cosmos. Many rolls of Cosmos holograms were manufactured, even though the system was canceled, and are occasionally found on the secondary market. Look at that. That's cool. Zoom that in a little bit. And hide that. That would have been a really cool handheld. I'm not going to lie. That would have been awesome. To have that in the 80s? Hell yeah, man. That would have been an amazing handheld. Because at a time when, what did we have then? We had like the Game Boy and stuff like that. So to have like that come out with like holograms, true holograms and stuff, that would have been awesome. The fact that they never saw that as being anything successful is stupid. It's quite honestly stupid. Because I mean that would have sold like hotcakes. Especially when you were up against something like the Game Boy, which was just a standard, what was it, an LCD screen? America, the giant arcade. No longer novelties relegated to the back of pinball parlors. Coin-operated video games became ubiquitous in the early 1980s. Games could now be found not only in thousands of dedicated arcades, but also in bowling alleys, restaurants, laundromats, supermarkets. Practically anywhere people might be found with quarters in their pockets and a little time on their hands. Asteroids Deluxe. Following up on the smash success of Asteroids, this deluxe version of the game, designed by David Shepard, introduced several new features to challenge players who had mastered the original game. A shield instead of the hyperspace jump, new enemy types, and a higher difficulty level overall. So we'll hop into that in a second after we look at our flyers. Introducing the Killer Satellite. The Asteroids Deluxe Flyer reveals that the segmented enemy ship that attacks the player starting on the second wave is officially called the Killer Satellite. Marquee. The marquee from an Asteroids Deluxe machine. Original art. The original art used on the Asteroids Deluxe machine by artist Marty Viljama. That's actually pretty cool art. I like that. All right, now it's time to force myself to possibly die. Multiple times. Asteroids Deluxe Platform Arcade, release year 1981. 2 years after the release of the original Asteroids, Atari wanted to challenge various players with more difficult enemies and various other gameplay tweaks. Asteroids Deluxe traded the hyperspace button for protective shields, changed the design of the player's ship, and instantly looked different thanks to a colored film on the screen, tinting its stark white graphics to aqua. Oh, I like that background too. That's cool. All right, let's hop into this. Why is it saying game over already? It's predicting my loss already. It's like, he's not gonna do good. We'll just give him the game over screen at the start. See, look at him. He's terrible. I'm telling you, folks, this man is terrible. Terrible, terrible. Yeah, thanks. That is making me feel a lot better. That dot. Making me realize I'm gonna die quicker. Oh, what is that? Alright. My score is one of the 10 best. What? How? Alright, cool. Okay. Like, all I did was die a bunch of times. I guess I got the #1 high score. Well, that makes sense. I guess so. That's weird. So some of these cabinets have like high scores of like from the developers and stuff like that, and then others just don't have high scores in general. So kind of weird there, but I do like that version of Asteroids, though. I like that background. It's really cool to have like that background over top of, or underneath the actual graphics. That is a neat version of Asteroids. Definitely more interesting than the one I used to play. All right. Warlords. While the Pong-style game was on its way out of favor in the arcades, Atari still had one last step up its sleeve with Warlords, a 4-player competitive Breakout-style game in which each player had to defend their castle from the other 3. Played heavily to this day, it is a landmark entry in the history of local multiplayer versus gaming. Promotional flyer. According to the Warlords arcade flyer, the player's shield is officially called a Power Stone. It also notes that the game will automatically adjust its difficulty to accommodate players with more or less experience. We can zoom in on the cabinet. So we can zoom in on all of these flyers, actually, very, very, very closely. If you wanted to read the small text, you're able to do so. You can also probably zoom in on these screenshots and see them more up close. But yeah, I believe that's that. So we're at the 2 hours and 18-minute mark. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this last cabinet, and then we'll come in for more because I still got a lot more. Yeah, I've got a lot more cabinets here that we have to go through, and I don't know if I'm going to do it all tonight. So we'll do Warlords, and then when we next play, the next part of this, we'll go into Centipede. So this is going to be a lot of a lot of parts for this, I believe, because there is a lot of content here. We're just still on the first chapter, and you can see that we still have a lot of arcade cabinets to play and a lot of history for each cabinet to go into. So this is definitely going to be a multi part stream. I'm not sure if I will stream the second part tomorrow or not, or if I'll go into another game. I haven't really decided yet. I may stream more of this tomorrow because I am having a lot of fun with it. Centipede, platform arcade, release year 1981. Co-created by Donna Bailey and Ed Logg, Centipede had a distinctive pastel color palette, coloring the game's varying mushroom fields and attacking insects. That is often credited for its appeal to both male and female players. The strong National Museum of Play added Centipede to its World Video Game Hall of Fame in 2020. Alrighty, let's play some Centipedes. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm assuming I'm gonna kill this centipede and maybe this little spider. Come on! Don't get... Nah... it's kind of like Space... I see. It's kind of like Space Invaders. Alright. Now I know. Alright. Spider! Must you always be in the way? You little bugger. Look at you. Well, I can see why it's getting more challenging, because after you kill the centipede, it's dropping more and more of these mushrooms, so we definitely have a lot more barriers that we have to contend with. That is interesting. Definitely interesting. I would like to see this remade. Now, I don't know if this has a remake in the collection, but I don't think it does. But I think it would be cool to see a more modern take on Centipede. I think that would be kind of cool. But yeah, so there we go. There's Centipede. So next up we've got Tempest, which we'll probably do tomorrow, since we're at the 2 hours and 22 minute mark. So we'll head back here if we can't. I don't think we can head back to the main menu, actually. Or can we? Oh yeah, we can. Alright. So there we go. That was Atari 50th Anniversary Collection on the PlayStation 5. So we're still in the first chapter. We have 2, 3, 4, 5 chapters in total. So we'll continue on with chapter 1 in a future stream. So thank you very much to everybody who tuned into the stream tonight and everybody watching after the fact. Thank you very much to Stu's Game Reviews for tuning in today. Always Asleep, Lester Sis, and I believe Lewis was in here at one point as well. So thank you very much to all of you for tuning in tonight. And I hope you had as much fun as I did playing these classic arcade games that really brought about the industry of the video game industry, the market that we see today. And, of course, bringing about the very first video game console, which, if not for Atari and the visionaries at Atari, we wouldn't have our PlayStation 5s, we wouldn't have our PS4s, we wouldn't have our Nintendos, and we wouldn't have our Xboxes. We'd just have PCs. So thank you very much once again, everybody, for tuning in tonight. It's greatly appreciated. If you like what you see, please consider liking and subscribing. I cover PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, PC, and VR games. If any of that interests you, consider liking and subscribing. Over on my YouTube channel, you'll find a playlist section devoted to all of my previous live streams. Say, as an example, you are coming in late to my channel and you missed some of my previous live streams. Go over to my playlist section, check that out. There's a lot of games in there. Check out the games that you like, because there's a lot of streams in there, and you can check out what you like. And if by chance you want to check out like the next part of the Atari 50th anniversary collection, I'm going to be obviously having a playlist in there as well for that. Also in the playlist section is the joint collaboration section, where I've worked with such YouTubers as Stu from Stu's Game Reviews and Olav from Olav Productions. You can find their videos in that section. You can also find in the playlist section the Pirates of the Geek Vortex podcast, which is run every Friday at 10:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time over on Olav Productions channel. We cover the latest in video games, board games, movies, TV shows, comics, and the like. So if you like any of that stuff, check out those podcasts, and we'll see you soon at the Gamers Grotto. Take care once again, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And to all of my Canadian viewers, my fellow Canadian viewers, happy Canada Day. See you soon. Take care. Yeah, we'll see you soon at the Gamers Grotto, where we'll play more of Atari's 50th anniversary collection, as well as more Forspoken, Brock the Investigator, and Terminator Resistance. Talk to you soon, guys. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you soon.